Am excited to introduce our speakers today. SSI and Employment, yes, you can work. Becky Spadoro and Oscar Castellan bring a wealth of knowledge and experience in disability benefits planning, having worked directly with hundreds of individuals served by the Department of Rehabilitation. So today, they'll explain how SSI and employment can work together to help you achieve your goals and move toward financial independence. They'll also simplify how earnings from work affect SSI in a clear and easy to understand way, dispelling the myths around work and benefits. So please join me in welcoming Becky and Oscar, who have been working for the Department of Rehabilitation since July 2015 as credentialed work incentive planners in the Santa Barbara district. Becky serves as a work incentive planner to the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo offices. All right, so prior to working with the DOR, Becky worked extensively for nonprofit agencies serving individuals with developmental and psychiatric disabilities, participating in employment, independent living, and day program services. Becky graduated with her Bachelor of Arts degree in developmental psychology from the University of California, Santa Barbara, UCSB. Oscar provides work incentive planning services in the Oxnard, Ventura, and Thousand Oaks offices. And before joining the DOR, Oscar worked for several state and federal agencies. He is a proud graduate of the University of Hawaii's Masters in Kinesiology and Rehabilitation Science program. All right, with that, I want to express my sincere thanks to both of them for presenting on this important topic and being here today to share some valuable information.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And thank you, Tish, for that introduction. Well, we have a lot to cover today, so we're going to dive in. All right. And again, I see some questions in the Q&A coming up. Just to be clear, this is a presentation on SSI, not SSDI. Hopefully, we'll get to SSDI at another presentation. Okay. So if you are receiving Supplemental Security Income, SSI, you may have many questions about how working could affect your benefits. It's understandable to feel concerned. Today we'll talk about SSI work incentives, how they can help, address some common fears, and show you how working while receiving SSI is possible. Many of you rely on your SSI payments, and the thought of losing your benefits can feel overwhelming. You may have heard that if you work, you'll lose your cash and Medi-Cal benefits. This is a common misconception. The Social Security Administration offers employment supports and work incentives designed to help you work and move towards self-sufficiency without losing your benefits prematurely. Today we'll discuss how to navigate working while on SSI benefits. We'll show you that you can work, make more money, and stay connected to your Medi-Cal. We hope to clear up some of the confusion about going to work while on SSI. We'll begin with an overview of Social Security's Supplemental Security Income, the SSI program, dispel some common myths about work and SSI, learn about the work incentives available to help you transition to work successfully, and we'll explain how you can work without losing your Medi-Cal. You may not know this, but Social Security encourages you to work and treats work favorably. The purpose of the SSI work incentives is to allow SSI recipients to earn more money while keeping as much of the SSI as possible, ensuring that you will come out ahead financially. With that in mind, you don't have to navigate this journey alone. There are work incentives planning services available through Department of Rehabilitation and Community Work Incentive Planning and Assistance, otherwise known as WIPA, programs available through the Ticket to Work program to assist you. And finally, we'll share some other resources and tools that are available to help you manage your work and benefits. So, Social Security's definition of disability. So, to qualify for disability benefits, you have to meet Social Security's definition of disability. So let's take a look at what that definition is. So their definition is the inability to engage in any substantial gainful work activity, otherwise known as SGA, because of a medically determinable physical or mental impairment or impairments that is expected to result in death, or that has lasted or is expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. So, a fairly vigorous definition. So, SSI, SSDI, what's what? So, in this slide, we are covering some of the differences between SSI and SSDI. So, in order to be eligible for either of these benefits, you must meet Social Security's disability criteria, which is what I reviewed in the previous slide. So, with Supplemental Security Income, SSI, this is cash assistance that are made to people that are aged, blind, and disabled that have limited income and resources. So some of the differences here between supplemental security income and SSDI is that it is a needs-based program. For an individual person, that means that they don't have resources that exceed $2,000, and if it's a married couple, $3,000. It is paid from the general tax revenue, and your SSI payment is going to fluctuate from month to month based on other sources of income, work incentives, living arrangements, etc. Medicaid, or as we call it here in California, Medi-Cal, is the insurance that comes with SSI, and your eligibility for Medi-Cal begins immediately when you're entitled to SSI. Now, with SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, this is considered a Title II benefit, and this benefit is based on a person's work history. So they were working and then they became disabled. So the payment amount is coming from the Title II trust fund, and it's based on what that worker has paid into Social Security through their FICA contributions and work history. The monthly payment is based on that, and it's not going to fluctuate. It's going to be one amount, and either you're going to be eligible for that payment or you're not, or not, based on other a variety of things, such as work earnings. Medicare is the insurance that comes with SSDI, and there is a 2-year waiting period from the date you're entitled to SSDI. So it's very important to know which benefits you are receiving so that you can make sure you are using the right work incentives and following the rules for the appropriate program. So in today's presentation, we are covering SSI specifically. Okay, so it's important to understand that SSI has a resource limit. To stay eligible for SSI, your resources cannot be more than $2,000 if you're an individual and $3,000 for married couples living together. It's important to monitor your resources, especially if you are working, to stay eligible for SSI benefits. So this chart here shows what Social Security considers when determining the value of your resources. So you can see that included resources are things such as bank accounts. So that could be your checking, savings, CDs, IRAs. One excluded resource is the ABLE accounts, and we are going to talk about that a little later on in our presentation. Other things that are included would be stocks, bonds, 401ks. They do allow you to have one car, but if you had a second car, they would look at the value of that if you were to sell it, right? So they also allow you, they won't count the home that you live in, but if you had other property that you had access to, they would count the value of that. They do allow for some resources set aside for burial, but otherwise they could count a life insurance with the cash value. So this is not an exclusive list. I think in our resources we'll have kind of a more extensive list for you, but just to make the point that you do want to pay attention to resources as that is an SSI eligibility criteria. So as the name implies, SSI cash benefits supplement any other income that you are already receiving. If you have no other income, you may be eligible for the full SSI payment. SSI payments vary based on several factors, including income, living arrangements, and state supplements. So California adds some extra money called the state supplemental to the SSI federal rate every month to help cover the costs of living. There are a number of categories for SSI monthly payments based on a person's living arrangement. The most common being the full amount of $1,182.94, and that is the 2024 rate. So if you're living in the household of another and receiving help to cover the cost of your food and housing, your SSI payment may be reduced by a third. If you are blind, the full amount you may receive is $1,267.32. There are also different categories for couples receiving SSI, which can affect the which can affect the payment amounts. The most common amount for SSI couples is $2,022.83, and for blind couples, the amount is $2,248.35. So as you can see, there are several details that go into calculating a person's SSI payment. So, and by now you may be wondering how work earnings affects your SSI payment. So there is a lot of confusion about SSI and work. Giving work a try is not something everyone can do. Only you can decide if work is right for you. But if you're ready to give it a try, there are many free services and supports available to help you transition to work without losing your SSI cash and SSI linked Medi-Cal prematurely. By choosing to work, you can earn more money, gain independence, meet new people, and learn new skills. Many people with disabilities are experiencing that the benefits of working toward financial independence are much greater than the risks.
So there are a lot of concerns surrounding SSI and work, and let's take a look at a few myths and facts. You may have worried about the same myths or have been told something similar. If I go to work, I'll lose my SSI benefits. If I go to work, I'll lose my Medi-Cal. Or if I go to work and have to stop working later because of my disability, I won't be able to get back on benefits. The good news is these are just myths. Social Security offers various work incentives to support you going to work designed to help you move towards financial independence. And let's discuss the facts. Let's take a closer look at myth number one. If I go to work, I'll lose my SSI benefits. Maybe you have similar concerns. The good thing is Social Security has rules that helps you stay connected to SSI when you're working. These rules make sure that your SSI benefits won't stop suddenly, so you can continue to get the support you need while working. In fact, SSI rules ensure you'll end up with even more money in your pocket while still staying eligible for your benefits. All right, so now that we've cleared up myth number one, let's talk about SSI rules. Some SSI rules are called work incentives. And when you're on SSI and begin to work, they help you transition to work while protecting your eligibility for SSI and or Medi-Cal coverage. They can also be used to reduce the amount of earned income that Social Security counts, helping to maximize your SSI check. If you have no other income aside from your wages from work, Social Security will apply a general and earned income exclusion, meaning they don't count the first $85 of your earnings. Then you may be eligible to use other work incentives to further reduce your accountable income. These allow you to work, earn more, and keep as much of your SSI check as possible while you work to increase your earnings over time. Now, I'm going to briefly review each work incentive now, but later we'll discuss each more in depth. The first one is impairment-related work expense in IRWE. Allows SSA to subtract certain disability-related expenses when they count your income. And these expenses must be related to your disability, needed for you to work, and paid for by you. Examples of IRWEs include prescription medicines, service animal expenses, medical supplies, assistive technology, therapies, and others. Next, we have blind work expenses. And these are special rules for people whose primary disability is blindness. Student earned income exclusion. This work incentive allows a student with a disability who is under age 22 and regularly attending school to exclude some of their monthly income. Plan to achieve self-support. An approved pass plan helps you set aside money to pay for items or services you need to reach a specific work goal, helping you to become self-sufficient. And this is a contract between you and Social Security to exclude a portion of your income to help you save and pay for the things you may need. Expedited reinstatement. Allows you to quickly restart your benefits if you work and income causes them to stop. So if you're an SSI recipient and want to take advantage of these work incentives, you'll need to communicate with Social Security and complete any necessary documentation. And yes, DOR work incentive planners are happy to help you with this process. When discussing SSI, it's essential to understand the different types of income that can affect your benefits. Social Security counts all kinds of income, and they impact your benefits differently. The main sources of income are listed here. We have unearned income, and this is money that you may receive without working. Some examples are Social Security disability insurance, unemployment benefits, trust fund, pensions, alimony, and cash from friends and family. Then we have earned income, money you receive from working at a job, your wages or self-employment income. In-kind income. Social Security puts a value on any free or reduced housing someone else is paying for. Deemed income. If you're considered a dependent of a spouse or a parent, part of their income may be counted. So it's important to tell Social Security about any income that you receive. Next, let's take a look at how Social Security will count your income. Remember, SSI is a needs-based program, so any income of any kind will generally reduce your SSI payment. Social Security uses a specific formula to calculate your SSI payment each month. Today, we're just going to focus on the rules for earned income, money you earn from work. We're covering SSI earnings when you're working for an employer. Self-employment earnings are calculated differently, which we're not going to cover in today's presentation. So for earned income, as your earnings from work go up, your SSI payment will go down. And if your earnings from work go down, your SSI payment will go up. Let's take a look at a basic calculation. Social Security will start with your gross income. That's your income before any taxes are taken out. If you have no other income to report, they'll subtract the first $20, and this is a general income exclusion. Next, they'll subtract a $65 earned income exclusion. This is an exclusion for earned income only. So they'll subtract the first $85 from your gross income, and whatever's left, they'll divide by 2. Social Security counts 50% of your remaining earnings to determine your countable earned income. This amount is used to determine your monthly SSI check by subtracting the countable income from your base SSI rate that you receive every month. And this is the power of working while on SSI. Social Security will only count less than half of your earnings when adjusting your SSI check. The good news is that the SSI calculation assures that you'll always have more money when you're working. Always. Let's take a look at a simple example to show how income affects the SSI cash benefit using the general SSI calculation without applying any additional work incentives. And in this example, Maria receives SSI. She wants to work to increase her income and be more financially independent. She started working part-time, no other income or cash benefits, and she expects to earn $1,385 gross per month. What will happen to Maria's SSI payment? Well, Social Security is going to look at Maria's gross earnings. In other words, the amount she's earning before any taxes or other deductions are taken out. Maria earned $1,385 gross at work. We first subtract $85 using the income exclusions we previously discussed. So now we have $1,300. Next, we divide the $1,300 by 2, leaving us with $650 of what's called countable earned income. Of the $1,385 that Maria earns, Social Security will only count $650 of that. That's less than half of her earnings that they're counting. So let's figure out how that will change Maria's SSI check. And that's what a lot of us probably want to know. So now we know how much income will be counted by Social Security. Next, Social Security will subtract the countable earned income from Maria's base SSI rate. So Maria receives $1,182.94. So $1,180 minus $650 of count equals $32.94. Maria's SSI check will be reduced to $2.94 per job. But let's take a look at the buy will go down, yes. But now from work, her SSI will be affected where she'll have 5, but her SSI will be to $532.94. She has a gross total now of $1,917.94 for the month. So even though her SSI benefit for the month was reduced, she has a lot more money than if she wasn't working and only getting SSI. If Maria had used any other work incentives, her SSI cash benefit would be higher for the month. As you can see, when Maria relies solely on SSI, she gets $1,182.94 per month. But when she works part-time, her monthly income increases to $1,917.94. So Maria is better off financially because Social Security doesn't reduce her SSI check dollar for dollar when she's working. Social Security will count less than half of her earnings, so she's always better off working. Keep in mind that all types of income can impact SSI because it's a needs-based program. Your situation may be different than Maria's. If you're also receiving SSDI or have any other sources of income, the calculation could change. And there are some great online tools and estimators to help you determine how your earnings will impact your SSI payment. And we'll share these resources a little later.
Okay, so what might happen to Maria's SSI if she had used other work incentives? One of the most common exclusions is the impairment-related work expense known as IRWE. IRWEs are disability-related expenses that you pay for. They're not reimbursed, the cost is reasonable, and necessary for you to work. Social Security recognizes that you may need specific support in order to work due to your impairment, and those costs can be deducted from your wages when calculating your SSI payment. Airways help an SSI recipient recoup some of the costs that they incur due to their impairment, helping them continue to work. Some types of expenses that count as Airways are medications, medical devices, assistive technology, attendant care, counseling or therapy, and other expenses. For example, if Maria had paid $150 to repair her wheelchair, could that be deducted as an Airway? Let's figure it out by asking these 3 questions. Is the expense related to her disability? Did she pay for the item herself and wasn't reimbursed? Is the item or service necessary for work? Since the answer to all 3 of these questions is yes, this $150 wheelchair expense can be requested as an Airway. Airways help you to work without losing as much of your SSI, so it's important to keep track of these expenses and submit Airway receipts when you report your wages to Social Security. So let's take a look at the math to show you how taking advantage of Airways helped to lower Maria's countable income, helping to maximize her SSI check to cover some of the cost of Airways. All right, so on the left-hand column, we've got that calculation that Oscar reviewed with us. All right, we take her gross earnings, we subtract out that general and earned income exclusions, leaving us with $1,300. We divide it in half for $650 of countable earned income. Now, when we add in the Airway, we go through that same calculation, but after the general and earned income exclusions are subtracted, this is where we're going to subtract out that $150 wheelchair expense in Airway. So when we subtract that out, we now have $1,150, and now we're going to divide that in half. So when we do so, we now have $575 of countable earned income. So Airways are deducted as a 1-for-2 offset, meaning for every $2 spent on an Airway expense, a dollar can be deducted. So keep in mind that this is an expense you would have paid anyway. So using the Airway allows you to hold on to more of your SSI cash payment, effectively receiving a 50% reimbursement for that expense. So let's take a look at Maria's overall income when she applies the Airway. So as you can see, when Maria relies solely on SSI, she receives $1,182.94 per month. When she works part-time, earning $1,385 per month, combined with her adjusted SSI payment, her monthly income increases to $1,917.94. But when Maria submits the $150 Airway expense while working part-time, her total monthly income increases to $1,992.94. So Maria comes out ahead financially when she's using Airways. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at another work incentive called the Student Earned Income Exclusion. So it is September. Welcome back to school to all you students out there. So if you are a student and working and you're under the age of 22, this is a very powerful work incentive for you to know about. Okay, so it is a great work incentive that allows the student to work and exclude a portion of their income with little or no impact on their SSI. This exclusion is for students under the age of 22 who are regularly attending school, which means at least 12 hours per week for high school students or homeschooled students, and 8 hours per week for college students, with few exceptions. If you're attending a vocational training program of some sort, it could be 12 to 15 hours per week. So if you qualify for student earned income exclusion, Social Security won't count the first $2,290 of your earnings per month, and they'll exclude that until you reach the maximum for this year in 2024 of $9,230 per year. So the student earned income exclusion is applied before any other work incentives, and the amount of student earned income exclusion typically increases each year. So keep your eyes peeled in January, that might go up a little bit. So let's take a look and see how student earned income exclusion can help. Okay, so we have Joe here, and Joe is 20 years old and he's attending college full time, so he qualifies for this exclusion. He started working part time and anticipates earning $1,500 per month. So Joe has submitted a letter from his school along with his class schedule and school ID to Social Security requesting SEIE. So I do want to make this point that you do have to submit verification of your school attendance when requesting this student earned income exclusion. So Joe reports his earnings of $1,500, and Social Security applies the student earned income exclusion, excluding the $1,500 of earnings. So based on the use of SEIE, Joe has no countable income, and he will receive his full SSI payment until his earnings reach $9,230 for the year, and that is the 2024 rate. If Joe continues to work and his earnings exceed the SEIE limit, well, then he might be able to use other work incentives to help him remain eligible for SSI. So Joe earns $1,500 from work, and thanks to SEIE, he keeps his full SSI check of $1,182.94. So his total income will be $2,682.94 for the month. This additional income is great for Joe and will help him cover some of his college expenses. The student earned income exclusion is designed to empower students to finish school and work toward financial independence. This support helps Joe move confidently toward the future while keeping the SSI support that he depends on. Plan to achieve self-support or PASS. So I'd like to introduce you to another valuable yet often overlooked work incentive, the Plan to Achieve Self-Support or PASS. This program is designed to help you reach your employment goals by setting aside income or resources which are excluded by the SSI program. To be eligible, you must qualify for SSI benefits. So given that the SSI resource limits of $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a couple, it can be challenging to save money for things you need to achieve your employment goals without jeopardizing your SSI eligibility. Since SSI is meant to cover your food and housing, you'll need another source of income, such as SSDI or earnings from a job, to be considered for a PASS plan. To qualify for a PASS, you must also have a work goal that will lead toward greater self-sufficiency, less reliance on SSI, and may even help you to transition off of SSI in the future. So what can a PASS be used for? Well, it can be used for education-related costs, including licenses or certifications, starting a business, childcare expenses, transportation, medical services. Services are items that Department of Rehabilitation can't provide if you are a consumer of the DOR. And many other items or services. Now, it's often helpful to work with a work incentives planner or a certified work incentives coordinator or a benefits specialist to develop your PASS. The application form, which is SSA 545BK, is available on the Social Security website. So we're going to also place some helpful links to the PASS application and other online resources for you in the chat. A PASS plan can be a powerful SSI tool, but requires commitment to follow through and continued communication with Social Security. Blind work expenses. So this is also called BWEs. This is a work incentive for blind individuals on SSI that allows you to lower your countable earned income by deducting expenses you need to work. Social Security won't count any earned income that you use to pay for your work expenses, helping you to keep more of your SSI benefits while working. Blind work expenses are deducted dollar for dollar, meaning for every dollar you spend on the expense, a dollar can be deducted from your countable earned income. For example, if a recipient spends $250 a month on care for a service animal and $100 is deducted in taxes, they can claim $350 of BWEs. It's also important to note that BWEs do not need to be related to the recipient's blindness as long as it is paid for out of pocket and is used to help the recipient work. It will be an allowable expense. So this means expenses like federal, state, and local taxes, Social Security taxes, association fees, meals consumed during work, transportation to and from work, and much more can be used as a BWE. Overall, blind work expenses can make a big impact and is a powerful work incentive designed to help SSI recipients who are blind to receive higher SSI payments by providing financial support for work-related costs.
So let's move on to myth number 2. And this is probably one of the biggest fears we hear. If I go to work, I'll lose my Medi-Cal. And for many of you, this might be an even bigger concern than losing your cash benefits, especially if you receive in-home support services, IHSS. It's important to know how to stay eligible for continued Medi-Cal coverage while you're working. There are Medi-Cal programs designed specifically for people with disabilities who work. Let's break down the facts and clear up the myths. Social Security has rules to protect your health care long term. There are 3 main ways for maintaining your Medi-Cal while you work. These options make sure that people with disabilities who want to work still get the coverage they need. First, all SSI recipients automatically receive SSI-linked Medi-Cal. Automatically. And when you're working, if you receive an SSI payment of any amount, you will keep your SSI-linked Medi-Cal as long as you continue to have a disability and you meet SSI eligibility. There is no time limit to how long your SSI-linked Medi-Cal can last. There are also 2 main programs available to help you keep Medi-Cal benefits even when you start working and making more money. If your SSI payment stops because of your countable earnings, you may qualify for continued Medi-Cal coverage under Section 1619B. This happens automatically. There is nothing you need to do but report your income to Social Security regularly. In most cases, you keep your free SSI-linked Medi-Cal until your earnings reach $58,638 annually in California. This is called the threshold amount, and it changes every year. Another nice thing about 1619B is that if earnings are high enough to reduce the SSI cash benefit to 0, you remain on SSI. You're just not getting an SSI check. In this case, if earnings drop or you have to stop working, Social Security will just recalculate your cash benefit. As long as you receive SSI for 1 month, you keep your resources under $2,000, continue to have a disability and need Medi-Cal to work, you can keep your Medi-Cal long-term There is no time limit to how long you can receive 1619B coverage. If you earn more than the state threshold amount, you may be eligible for an individualized threshold amount. And this is helpful if you have significant medical expenses related to your disability. Another great option if you're working is the 250% Medi-Cal Working Disabled program. This special program offers free, full scope Medi-Cal for people with disabilities who work. You can work and earn up to $76,320 in California and still qualify. And under this program, there is no resource limit. If you're ready to transition off SSI, but still need Medi-Cal coverage, this is a great option for you. You can apply through your county Department of Social Services. These two programs may be especially important for you if you're currently using in-home support services. Your IHSS eligibility would continue under either of these programs, allowing you to live and work safely in your community. Next slide, please. So on to our last myth, myth number 3. What if I go to work and I have to stop working because of my disability? I won't be able to get back on benefits, right? Well, let's take a look at the facts again. If your benefits end due to your work and earnings, you have 5 years to ask to reinstate your benefits if you're not able to work because of your medical condition. You won't have to file a new application or wait for your benefits to restart thanks to a work incentive called Expedited Reinstatement, or EXR. Think of EXR as a 5-year safety net. It's intended to give you some peace of mind knowing that there's a fast track back to your benefits if necessary. When you request EXR, you're provided with 6 months of provisional benefits while SSA determines that you still meet their disability standard. You won't need to file a new application, but SSA will send you the appropriate forms to complete. So now that we've covered the available work incentives, we hope you see that there are a lot of options to consider. Let's review what we've discussed. SSI recipients can improve their financial situation by working, increasing their income while keeping access to their benefits. The Social Security Administration will count less than half of your earnings when calculating your monthly SSI payment. Using work incentives helps to reduce your countable income to keep more of your SSI check. And you can maintain your SSI eligibility as a long-term safety net as long as you meet SSI requirements. Be sure to monitor your resources, the money you have in your bank account, because SSI has a $2,000 resource limit. And don't forget, your SSI-linked Medi-Cal can continue even after your SSI payments stop due to your work and earnings, if you follow the rules for 1619B. When receiving SSI, you will always have more money if you're able to work. By understanding these rules, you can make informed decisions about your work goals to improve your financial situation and move towards greater independence. Wage reporting. So you must report your wages and really any other income every month so that Social Security can track your earnings and adjust your SSI check. For SSI, Social Security will count your income in the month that it is paid. There are a lot of options to report your earnings, and you can pick a way that works best for you. So for example, you can take your pay stubs and report in person to your local SSA office. You can call, fax, or mail in your wages. There is an SSI toll-free telephone wage reporting system, and you can submit your wages using the SSA mobile wage reporting app on your smartphone. Lastly, we encourage you to set up an online My Social Security account, which is a great way to manage your benefits and report wages online. Not reporting your income can lead to overpayments by Social Security. And if Social Security does not have accurate information to adjust your SSI check, and you receive a payment when you shouldn't have, they'll ask you to repay the money you were not eligible to receive. And this is called an overpayment. To avoid overpayments, wages must be reported between the 1st and 6th of every month. So for example, wages earned in January need to be reported by February the 6th. Now, I know we've covered a lot of information, but there is one more important program to share with you, and that is Achieving a Better Life Experience, known as ABLE accounts. ABLE accounts allow people with disabilities to save and invest for the future without the risk of losing their disability benefits. CalAble is California's ABLE account. This special account helps you save money without affecting your eligibility for SSI, Medi-Cal, and other public benefit programs. For individuals with a disability that began before age 26, a CalAble account allows you to save up to $18,000 per year, up to an additional $14,500 a year if you're working, in a tax-advantaged account. The first $100,000 in the account is not counted as a resource. You can use the money in your account to pay for disability-related expenses, which are defined very broadly and include living expenses and improving your quality of life. Beginning January 1st, 2026, the age of disability will change to anyone disabled before age 46. Remember that SSI has a $2,000 resource limit, so as your income increases, you'll need to manage your money to stay below the resource limit. But a CalAble account offers a way to save for the future while protecting your benefits, since money in a CalAble account is not counted as a resource. Now, you don't have to figure this all out by yourself. If you're a DOR participant, we have work incentive planners available in all DOR offices to help guide you. If you're not receiving DOR services, the Ticket to Work program also provides access to work incentive planning and assistance programs, the WIPAs. Both provide free and accurate benefits planning to help bridge the gap between Social Security benefits and successful employment. As work incentive planners, we provide individualized guidance to help you navigate the rules around disability benefits and work, helping you to focus on reaching your employment goals. If you plan to meet with the WIP or WIPA, it's helpful to obtain a benefits planning query from Social Security, which is a detailed report used by work incentive planners to understand your current benefit status and provide accurate guidance. You can call your local Social Security office or the SSA call center at 1-800-772-1213. And this report is free. Just let them know that you'll be receiving benefits planning through the Ticket to Work program. So that wraps up our presentation about SSI and work incentives, and we truly hope you found it helpful. As you've learned, there are a number of work incentives to support you and work incentive planners to guide you. And if you're thinking about going to work, we encourage you to get the facts. Remember, yes, you can work. And before we take your questions, we would like to share a few resources. Rebecca?
All right, so there are some great resources to help you learn more about SSI and work. So on Social Security's website, which is ssa.gov, there is a publication called the Red Book. So the Red Book reviews these work incentives that Oscar and I have been talking about. It also covers work incentives for SSDI as well. So be sure that when you are looking into things for SSI, that you're just paying attention to those sections on SSI, because the SSDI work incentives are very different. You can also find out about how to create a My Social Security account. So these are great to have to help you with wage reporting once Social Security enters your employer. You can also print out a benefit verification letter or request a new Social Security card. So it can be helpful for a variety of reasons. There's the SSA call center at 1-800-772-1213. So the Ticket to Work program. Their website is choosework.ssa.gov. On this website, you can find a directory for the various WIPAs, the Work Incentives Planning and Assistance Programs. You can put in your zip code and do a search, and they will provide you with a list of WIPAs, as well as employment networks. If you wanted to call the Ticket to Work line, it's 1-866-968-7842, or their TTY line is 1-866-833-2967. You can also contact us at the DOR, and we have a Ticket to Work helpline. That's 1-866-449-2730. You can also find us on our website of dor.ca.gov/home/SSA. Or you can email us at ttwinfo@dor.ca.gov. So we did mention in our presentation that there is help online to kind of figure out some of this SSI stuff. And so the World Institute on Disability has a fantastic website to help you learn more. And so you can find that online at ca.db101.org. So on their SSI and Work page, you can learn more about work incentives, explore Medi-Cal programs, and even use their SSI estimator to see how different earnings or work incentives could impact your SSI. It's very user-friendly and easy to navigate, and it's really a great tool to plan ahead. So thank you so much for joining us today and for your time and attention. This concludes our program, and we hope you found the information helpful. So let's open it up for your questions. We hope to answer as many of your questions as possible with the time remaining. Please keep in mind that we are not able to provide guidance regarding your personal situation or current benefit status, as doing so requires more detailed information. So please submit your questions through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky and Oscar. This has been such an informative presentation. Those calculations really helped us to see that it is possible to work while on benefits. And so, all right, let's take a look at the questions. Are you able to qualify for any of the work incentives if you are actively paying back an overpayment with your SSI?
Yes. I guess yes would be the answer. So, overpayments can happen for many reasons. And you should, receive a notification about the overpayment. And, they will send you a letter and give you also your options to address that overpayment if you do want to take any options to appeal it or request a waiver. Um, but yes, if you do go to work, yes, you can still use the SSI work incentives, definitely.
There are quite a few questions about where they can get some assistance. And I just want to remind everyone, if you're participating in DOR services, you can ask your counselor to connect you with the work incentive planner. If you are not currently receiving services from the DOR, you can contact the Ticket to Work helpline at 1-866-968-7842 and ask them to help you identify a local work incentive planning and assistance program, WIPA, where you can get some free guidance. Okay, we have time for one more question.
Okay, I see one question here. I'll address it. It says, is if it's a minor and living in the parent's home, does their income count against the minor's SSI benefits? Yes. So when you are a minor and you're living with your parents, yes, they will look at the parent's income to see if you are eligible for SSI. Once a person turns 18, then they're evaluated just on their own financial situation. And usually if they are receiving benefits as a child and then they turn 18, there's going to be what they call an age 18 redetermination. But at that point, the parents' income would not be involved.
Great. Thank you, Becky. Appreciate you being here today. We hope that the information helped to dispel a few myths and really showed you that working while on SSI is not only possible but beneficial. So enjoy your day, and we look forward to seeing you again.